Next up, if 6 was 9. Here's the intro and first verse. Let's go over this intro and first verse of If 6 was 9. On the intro, Jimmy just repeatedly goes 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're just playing a D note 5th to an E note 7th fret 4 times. And then he doubles the vocal melody. If the sun refused to shine. So it's just based on E minor pentatonic. First you slide up to 7th fret of the low E, 5th, 7th, 5th on the D, 7th. And then, so that's 5, hammer up to 7 on the low E, hammer pull, 5, 7, 5, E. I don't mind. Does that again. I don't mind. If the mountain, he throws in a little quick trill, 5 to 7th fret on the A string. Fell in the sea. So that second time you slide back 7, 5, pull off the 3, and then off to the open string. It ain't B. 3 times. And then you got the last part of it. Got my own world to live in. So what's going on here is he's going to play these 9th chords. I got the 5th fret of the low E string fretted with the thumb. This is A9. 5th fret, the A string's muted. 5th fret of the D string. 4th fret of the G. 5th of the B. And 5th of the high E. Strums that a couple times. Moves down a whole step to G9. Half step F sharp 9. F9. So right here at the end here, you just play the open A and D, and then you come down to play a E5 chord on the 2nd fret of the A and D. And then a little riff, bend 2nd fret of the G up a whole step. Bring the bend down and pull off to the open string. One more time, and then. So that's just going open string to the 2nd fret on the A, D, and G string. And that kicks off the next verse. Here's the second verse of If 6 was 9. All right, on the second verse, it begins with an E7 sharp 9 chord. There's a stab. That's 7, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, and then Jimmy goes. So this is barring across the 7th fret of the A and the D string, and then bringing in the 9th fret of the D. And then, for the rest of the verse, he plays power chords D5 to E5 repeatedly. So it's the same thing over and over till we get to the next part. And it's basically the same thing, drops in the same chords. A9, but he strums a little more actively. So this little eighth note triplets. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Then we just play a straight F chord here. And that's going to bring us to the interlude. All right, this interlude section is just a vamp over E. So Jimmy starts with another one of these little E minor pentatonic licks in first position, bending the G string at the second fret, bend, release, pull off. And then goes back and forth between a open low E and going back and forth between that open E and fretted notes on the second fret of the A and D. And then a little. So those first two bars again. Now here in bar 4 you got, and then into bar 5. So this little lick here. So using all those open strings there. And then next bar. So. Then going just between the two E's, open E, second fret of the D, and another one of these. In bar 8, he begins by hammering. Throws a little single note riff, sliding up from the 3rd to the 5th fret on the B string with the open high E. Then the section ends just by riding on the bottom part of the E chord into the guitar solo. The most significant part of the solo section is actually the interplay between the bass and the drums. And the bass plays long, complicated figures, and the two guitar parts sort of like fill in the space between that. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the rhythm guitar part that's played across the first 16 bars of the solo section. All right, for this first 16 bars, it begins with 4 bars on C9. That's 3, 2, 3, 3, 3. And then for the E chord, Jimmy plays this beautiful chord that he's used on Third Stone from the Sun, a variety of songs. You got 11, 11 on the A and D string, 9 on the G, 12 on the B, and then you've got both open E strings on either side. And it's just kind of strummed freely over 4 bars. That's followed by 2 bars of A9, same voicing from before. 2 bars down to G for 2 bars, and then back to E for 4 bars. All right, here's the next 12 bars of the solo section from If 6 Was 9. For these next 12 bars, it goes back to C9, but this time Jimmy plays it up in 8th position. So you got 8, 8, A string muted, 7, 8, 8. And then again, just freely strumming an 8th note. And they're kind of swung 8th notes. Da, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. Based on a swing feel, it's based on triplets. That's for 4 bars, goes back to E. And the strumming here is like, you know, a little more open, goes back to A9. And then he slides back to the G9. And that brings us to the last part of the solo section, which starts with B minor. All right, here's the last 12 bars of the If 6 Was 9 solo section, the rhythm guitar part. All right, this last 12 bars is basically played over B, which is the 5 chord. We're in the key of E. So he just kind of vamps out over the 5 chord, getting ready to drop back in for the last verse back on E. So the first thing he does is he's fretting this B minor 7th chord voicing. You're barring across the 7th fret, across all the strings, and then the pinky's at the 10th fret of the B, and you strum that and then immediately hammer on to the 9th fret of the A. Just like that. And then there's this odd little 2-note figure where he goes, and he's sliding these little 2-note shapes around, so you go like that. So 7th fret, down to 6th, back up to 7th, and then to 9th, talking about the D string. Then he drops down to a straight B chord down here and does one of these things where you're strumming the B bar chord, that's 2nd fret of the A, and across the D, G, and B at the 4th fret. And you lift up that bar with the ring finger to play what is an A chord with a B bass. The A chord is on the D, G, and B strings, so you got that. So he goes. And then following that, you got 2 bars of just playing that A with the B bass. Back to the B chord. There's a stop for these little lead guitar figures, and then it goes back into the last verse. I'm now ready for the lead guitar part on If 6 Was 9. First up is bars 1 through 16 of the solo. Here's the next 12 bars of the If 6 Was 9 solo. Now here's the last 12 bars of the If 6 Was 9 guitar solo. All right, let's go over this entire guitar solo in one fell swoop, because basically Jimmy plays the same kind of stuff, and it's extremely free. As I said, the focus is the rhythm section, the bass and the drums, and you've got the rhythm guitar and this lead guitar just sort of dancing around. So the first chord is a C9 chord, and over C9, Jimmy's going to play lines based on C major pentatonic. So he comes in bar 3, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So one more time, 12, 10, 12. Quick hammer, 8, 10 to 10, back to 8, and then you pull back. And then from this point, where this progression goes back to E, he's going to play licks based on E major pentatonic. And like I said, it's extremely free. Over E, he comes in on beat 4, so you go 1, 2, 3, 12, 14, 16, and then a. So you can see it's all very free, dancing around. It's all E major pentatonic, so you got just jumping around like that. Here in bar 7, we're going to go 10, 12, 14, 12, 13, 11, pull off. Then the progression goes over the A chord, and he just goes. And here's where these little expressive sounds come in that are augmented by the delay. When he gets back to E, he goes back to playing those E major pentatonic type riffs. So it's just. And then that sort of moves over to the B and the G string. Hammering 12, 14, 12, 13. And then he does these trills going from 11 to 14 on the D and on the A. Okay, then we're into the next 12 bars, starts over C9 again, and he just does some little noises. And so he strums 16th notes, which sounds very cool with the delay. And when the progression goes back to E, he's back to those same kind of licks as before, coming in on B3. So that's a nice riff there. So in bar 5 of this section, he again comes in on B3, 1, 2. Hammer 9 to 11, 9. And that's followed in the staccato. You can hear the echo. And then he just keeps doing these trills between the 12th and 14th fret, either on the high E and on the B. And then he'll jump down to doing that 11 to 14 trill on the D string, wraps up that next 12 bar section. And then in the last 12 bar section, which is just all over B minor and A with the B bass and B, he just continues to play these riffs based on E major pentatonic. 1, 2. And this last riff is a very cool riff. You're coming in on B2, 1. So it's very free again. And then wrapping up with this little trill between 11 and 13 on the G string. And the band stops and he goes, just hits the strings and then slides up the B string. Now here's the outro section of If 6 Was 9, the rhythm guitar part first. All right, this outro section, the rhythm guitar part is also very free. Jimmy begins with this unusual E6-9 chord. It's like a regular E chord. Open E, second, second, first, but then you bar the pinky over the top two, and he strums that for the first two bars. Then he switches to this chord here. It's like F sharp minor 7 with an E bass. So you got open E, 4th fret of the A, second, second, and then the top two open. Goes back to that E6-9. And he just kind of bars across. Here's the outro section of If 6 Was 9, the solo. All right, this outro solo is a long extended solo. It's completely free, and it's based on the same kind of riffs that Jimmy's been playing, E major pentatonic. On the top 3 strings primarily. So he comes in at the very end of bar 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna play 16, 16, 12, 14. 14 on the B, and then a quick trill, 14, 17, and then drop down to 13, 11 on the G. And then it jumps back up to so one more time. Then back to these. And now here, in the 6th bar of this outro section, he repeatedly goes, which is a guitar figure we've seen from Jimmy many times before. 12th fret on the B, 11th fret on the G, and you hammer pull and then come down 14 on the G. And then he works his way back up. And then drops a fast trill in here between the 19th and the 21st fret. Like that. And it's followed by just these expressive sliding up and down with the echo effect. And then he rides out the solo with a lot of the same similar type figures.